Hi, and thank you for coming to Back to School Night. This is Civics and Economics. My name is Emily Cincinnati. And if you would, please fill out an index card with the three things listed there with your student's name, your names, and one or more things that I should know about your student. As you can tell, I'm not physically at school right now. So these comments about things I should know about your kids will be really helpful for when I come back so that it gives me a little bit of information to build a relationship and a connection with your student. Um, I'm not currently at school because I am on maternity leave. I'm coming back on September 25th, so I've got about 2.5 more weeks left at home. My daughter Morgan arrived at the end of last school year, and so I've been enjoying my time with her. This is my 7th year at Lake Braddock teaching always civics. Before that, I taught in Howard County, Maryland, teaching government, first half of U.S. history. And when I moved down here, then I've been teaching civics ever since. I have a bachelor's in political science from Franklin and Marshall College in Lancaster, Pennsylvania, and my master's in education from Johns Hopkins. My interests include politics, quite clearly. Before I had my daughter, I would say running, and now my biggest interest is trying to find strategies to get her to sleep through the night. So if anybody is a baby sleep guru, I know you've all done it before, please feel free to pass your knowledge on to me. I have Tina Candle in as my long-term sub right now, and she's phenomenal, and I'm sure she's either introduced herself or will introduce herself shortly. And if this is either of my team taught periods, which would be periods 2 and 3, then we also have Mr. Thomas here, and he is an excellent special education teacher, and he's my team teacher. We've been together, teaching together for 3 years now. And again, I'm sure he's talking to you and introducing himself as well. All right, so these are our standards of learning for this year, the units that we're going to cover in the order that we'll cover them. Right now, your students are in the American Government and Citizenship unit, and I will be coming back just in time to start Unit 2, Political Process, with them. So we'll be looking at the election process and voting, particularly look at the gubernatorial election that's happening in Virginia this year. And then we'll move into Unit 3, which is Foundations of Constitutional Democracy. This is our history unit. So we'll go through from colonization very quickly through American Revolution, Articles of Federation, and then landing into the U.S. Constitution, which we'll look at in depth. Then we'll break down all 3 branches and we'll look at all 3 levels. So they'll study the branches at the local level, the state, Virginia state level, and then at the national level. In the end, we'll summarize and synthesize all of that through a unit on separation of powers and checks and balances. Then we end the year with economics. We do have an SOL exam in this class. It usually is at the end of May. It will cover all these topics. About 40% of it covers economics, which is why we save it for last, because it can be challenging for 8th graders to understand concepts like circular flow, but we'll get them there. I'm going to talk to you and hit you up for some volunteering for our Finance Park field trip. We will be going to Finance Park on Friday, April 27th. Let's get real, you don't have plans for that day yet, so perhaps you'll volunteer. The trip goes from about 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. You do not have to ride the bus, which I know is huge. You can meet us there and then leave when you're done. We need a whole bunch of parents to help us out. And the basic gist of this field trip is that it's a financial literacy simulation. So students arrive and they're given a life situation based on cost of living in Fairfax County. So they're given a job, an income, if they are have a spouse, if they have children, and then they have to find a house and a car and budget their entire lives, obviously not going into debt. So it's usually a really fun experience for the kids. It also has sort of a layer of stress as they're figuring out that they can't have it all. And they're usually very, very appreciative of their parents that day. So if you're interested in that, there's a Google form to sign up to chaperone. It's on my Blackboard site, and I will email that out as well. If you're worried that you're not really a math person or that you're not good at budgeting yourself, don't worry, because every chaperone receives a binder and basically your role is pretty much scripted. So you really don't have to know how to do anything. You just have to be there and be willing to talk to kids. It's a good time. So please, we need, again, 25 parents. So if you're willing and able, we'll take you. All right, the interactive notebook. So this is our most important resource in civics that we're going to build this year. So all students need to have a 5-subject notebook. Ideally college ruled 8.5 by 11, just because that makes it easier for gluing things in. Almost everything we do gets glued into the notebook. So notes, activities, writing assignments, and then at the end of each unit, I collect it. We grade them to make sure that the work is being completed, that it's being completed to our level of expectation, and it also helps me to gauge who I need to check in with in terms of organization or understanding. Glue sticks, glue sticks, glue sticks. We use so many glue sticks in this class, it's out of control because everything we do, we glue into the notebook. I know not, some of you may be wondering, why don't you just use a binder? I have found that the notebooks are way easier for keeping things together. With binders, the papers go flying out, they're missing, they don't ever put them actually into the binder, they just stick them in that pocket in the front, and then, you know, it's a disaster. So the notebook has worked really well for me for the past 7 years, so we're sticking with it. My hint to you would just be anytime you see glue sticks on sale, just buy a couple. Feel free to buy some for me too, because we use them all the time. Grading. All right. So our grade breakdown is mastery, which includes tests and quizzes. Sometimes we'll use a project or an essay as our mastery for a unit, and that will be announced in advance so that students know that. Knowledge and skill demonstration, always our interactive notebook, a lot of projects, extension activities, things like that would go into that category. Practice is homework. In my honors classes, we do have a little bit more homework in terms of outlining, extra reading, things like that. But for the most part, homework is what's not completed in class. So if your student is coming home and you feel like they have a lot of homework for my class, it's a pretty good indication that they're not using their class time wisely. So you check in with them about that. Because we do provide time to practice in class so that we're there to support them and help them build their understanding of these various topics. All right, I would like to just show you my Blackboard really quickly. Okay, so here's my Blackboard site. It pretty much looks the same whether it's my general education team taught or honors classes, just the content is different, but the way you navigate is the same. So the main page is where my announcements are. Any major tests, quizzes, things like that will be posted there. Practice is where you're going to find any assignments or reminders about things that need to be finished. It's organized by month. So when you go in folder, it'll just be posted based on the date and any attachments. So extra will be there as well. In the Interact Notebook section, you're going to find basically everything we do in class. So PowerPoints, note sheets, left side activities, project documents, anything like that. So if you're absent, this is a great resource, or if you need extra support, you want to look at it again, it's all here for you. So you can see already the first 2 lessons are already uploaded. Project-based learning, that's where anything related to projects, Google Classroom, things like that. So that's that one. Bruins in Action service, I'm going to get to in a minute talking about service learning. We do have an online textbook. I haven't even seen it yet. Your kids probably know more about it than I do at this point, but if not, we'll figure it out together. The syllabus is there, SOL prep, team information, all of that's here. I am pretty good about keeping my Blackboard up to date, so please refer back to that if you're looking for a document, something your kid is missing. Most likely it's on Blackboard. You can download and print it so they can turn it in. All right. So let's talk service learning here. Hopefully, if your student was in Fairfax County last year, especially if they were at Lake Braddock, you are well aware that there's a service learning requirement for the middle school. You're required to have, your student is required to have 15 hours of service by the end of 3rd quarter. So our deadline for this year is April 6, 2018. That is the deadline for having 15 service hours done, and they are logged into something called X2 Vol. Again, hopefully your student already has an account. They were set up last year through 7th grade history. And service hours count beginning the summer after 6th grade, all of last year, 7th grade, this past summer, and anything they do this year through April 6, 2018. All of that counts. So log it in. The minimum, again, is 15, but they should log all their hours if they have more, because there is a Principal Service Award that's given at the end of the year for students who have 25 or more hours, maintain at least a B average in civics, no disciplinary or honor code referrals, and then if they meet those standards and they qualify for that award at the end of the year. All hours need to be logged into X2Vol. X2Vol is you connect to it through Blackboard. So if your student can log into Blackboard, they can log into X2 Vault. There is not an additional password. So if they just go to Family Connection, and then the link you can see is right here for X2 Vault, and it automatically connects them into their profile. There are videos on my Blackboard of how to log hours. If your student needs additional support, they can come to me, before school or during Brew and Block for help with that. We are this year starting an 8th grade capstone project called Bruins in Action. It's interdisciplinary, which means they're going to work on it in all 4 of their core classes, in civics, English, science, and in math, regardless of who their math teacher is and what level math they're in. They will be working on it. Students will research and fundraise and create public service announcements for various issues and organizations related to the Community Foundation for Northern Virginia. This project is still somewhat in development, so your students may or may not know about it quite yet, but we will be guiding them through it this year. But I just want to make sure you're aware that this is sort of an additional component to the service learning that will mostly be done in class, but your student may have some activities to complete outside of the classroom as well. There should be a letter coming home to parents about this soon. All right. That's all I have. So if there's extra time, Mrs. Candle or Mr. Thomas can field any questions you have to the best of their abilities. If you have burning questions, please email me. I'm doing my best to respond while I'm on leave, but if I don't get back to you, I will do so when I'm back at the end of the month. So thank you.